listening to Daily Notes, presenting by Almost Sideways.
Hey everybody, welcome to Almost Sideways on YouTube. We are back here. This is also a podcast. We are on iTunes, Stitcher, Pandora, and Spotify. So make sure you check the links in the description of this this episode here, and you can find us on podcast format as well. So anyway, my name is Adam of Daily Notes, and this is a brand new segment that we're bringing to the podcast and YouTube channel. And that is my first time watches, where I review a film that I've never seen before, because I've seen it for only one time, and that's because of this episode. So I have a very special guest joining me on this episode, and that is my good friend, San Antonio's unofficial or official movie critic, Mr. Rudy. Yeah, here we go. Rudy, introduce your channel.
Hello, everybody. Adam, my old buddy, old pal, chum. Thank you for having me on your show. You can find me at Rudy's Movie Reviews on YouTube. Just type that in, Rudy's Movie Reviews, or San Antonio's official movie critic on Google. Believe it or not, I will pop up. It took years to get the algorithm to recognize that, but I'm finally there. And yeah, I'm very excited to be talking about Rocky Horror Picture Show. Again, I saw it for the first time last year, and I've seen it multiple times since. So again, I'm glad to be talking about this. Very different, awkward film, but you love it. I'm very grateful to be talking about it with you, man.
Yeah, I'm a first-time watch. I'm not entirely sure why I hadn't watched beforehand. We'll get into that in a second. But before we get started, because you've seen it more than I have, what was your initial takeaways from the film and overall experience with it?
Okay, well, that's a great question. And you know what? Like I said, it was this time last year. I was talking to somebody. She's no longer in the picture, believe it or not. She goes, "Have you seen Rocky Horror Picture Show?" And I'm like, you know what? I've seen clips. I know about Dr. Frank-N-Furter's entrance, and I know some of the songs like Time War. But I go, no, I've never sat down and watched it. She goes, "Let me make you a drink, and we're gonna watch it."
Go. Perfect.
And I think that was the best introduction I've ever had to a film. Like, have a drink. I'm like, okay, and I'm watching it. And I remember after it was over, I'm like, what the hell did I just see? I didn't understand it at all. Like they were aliens, and they went back to a planet called Transylvania. Like, what the hell is this? I don't get this. And then I saw it again and again. That's funny. Right after I saw it like 3 other times before I filmed my review on it. And I just remember the music's amazing. Tim Curry's performance is very inspiring. I can see how a lot of people looked up to him, just being, this person, just proud of who he is and just, having that swag. I remember walking around with that, but visually it was very impressive, and some of the messages they were showing and all. But initially when I first saw it, I didn't know what the hell to make of it. But after a repeat viewings, I see that longevity and that message and the fun and the message overall in the film. I guess we could talk about that later.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, this is my let me pop up my thing here. This is my very first time watching this film. And so it's been one of those movies that I don't necessarily know why I hadn't watched it up to this point.
Yeah.
I've heard great things about it. Obviously, Tim Burton, I'm a fan of what he was able to do, like from movies that I've seen, like the It miniseries as Pennywise, fantastic in that. Even Home Alone 2 as the clerk behind the counter, the hotel manager. He has great moments, and he also was in Ferngully. Has really good voice and really good talent as well. Yeah. So I knew that he was this crazy guy. And I've always seen the poster with the red lips, and he's dangling in the lips. But it's never one of those movies that I was like, I'm not really interested in that one. However, we talked about The Thing last couple months ago, like last month or whatever, and I got to think, I was like, you know what? I think you might have, somebody brought it up. I think you might have brought it up or whatever. I was like, you know what? I hadn't seen that one. And then I also had another interview with Kristen Maldonado on the channel, and she actually did plays and stuff on stage, and she was in the Rocky Horror Picture Show on the stage. So. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, I've never seen that. And she's like, it's a cult classic. You got to watch it. So I was like, you know what? Let's just make it happen. So very first episode had to be Rocky Horror Picture Show. Multiple people recommended it to me. So I went out to Best Buy because you recommended it. And I actually got the 45th anniversary here. Really good thing. And what's crazy about it is when you put the Blu-ray into your player, they give you 2 different versions to watch. I'm not sure if you saw that. It was like the US version and the UK version.
I did, but you know what? I didn't catch any differences, to be totally honest. I didn't notate them. Did you?
No, I only watched the US version. But I'm kind of interested to see if it, or at least research it anyway, to see if there was like a different cut of it.
Yeah.
What's a different version? It might have just been like the menu might have been different. Who knows? But anyway, overall, for my very first experience watching this, I kind of was in the same boat as you. What the heck did I just watch? I love the songs. I love "Damn It, Janet." Sweet Dr. Frank-N-Furter's intro song is fantastic. I talk about one of the best character intros possibly of all time. Like it could be, it's in the conversation at least.
I agree.
It's fascinating when he was able to do that, and a lot of the other songs, like especially when they first get into Hotel Transylvania and Janet and Brad do, and that song is so catchy, especially when they have the guy explaining just step to the left, and they go through the whole
song, yeah.
Step
to the right. Yeah, that's me singing. I might sing randomly in this podcast, so I apologize to you and your viewers because I can't sing, but I don't care.
No. Anyway. Just do it. Sing out loud, sing out proud, my friend.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's not my first really take. Then I watched it again last night, and I was still at the same point. Like I necessarily don't know what happened. I do remember. I guess I remember them being aliens before I watched the movie.
Okay, so you knew that. I had no idea.
I didn't know if I knew that or I just like randomly thought I heard it or whatever, and it's like maybe they're aliens. Like why are they? What are they? These people? But it's kind of funny watching the film. I could see a lot of kind of Mel Brooks type of Young Frankenstein in there a little bit, especially with like Igor, like the guy who looks like Igor and stuff like that. So I thought that was a lot of funny little stuff here and little bits and pieces to digest. So overall, though, I really enjoyed the movie both times. I think I haven't seen a whole lot of 1975 films, but this is probably my third favorite film of that year. Out of the handful that I've seen, or like the least the 10 that I've seen. So I definitely plan on rewatching this one in the future.
Yeah, it definitely. Like I said, I watch it every couple of months or so. And your friend who was in the play, she played one of the characters, and she did the live reenactment of. Okay, you know what's funny? If your viewers don't know, and I'm sure you know, I was in Comic-Cons, back in the day, and they always had this segment, this room off to the side, that had Rocky Horror Picture Show reenactments. And again, I didn't watch it. I didn't know what it was about, but like, hey, I'm on lunch and let me go check it out. So I'm sitting back there and I remember everyone, they go, raise your hand if you haven't been part of a live reenactment. I'm like, that's me. Get up. You're coming up here and you're going to open up. Like, what? I'm like, no, dude, like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't know what to do. I haven't even seen the film. And they had they had me do like a time warp. And I'm like, I'm just watching it. There's a step to the left. And then a step to the right, and the pelvic thrust is that thing. I don't know what I was doing. I'm sure it looked like that old man who's like totally out of his element and was just very uncomfortable. But I had fun, and I saw about a good hour of it. But I liked the engagement, the things that people shouted, and it's definitely now that I'm aware of the experience and aware of the movie and the dialogue and the whole story. Get this: I had bought tickets to a midnight screening here in San Antonio in April. And I was going to dress up and, just be crazy, right? Because that's the whole thing. You got to be fun and just let loose. Then COVID happened. And then it was canceled. So hopefully when this whole thing blows over, I'll be able to catch like a midnight showing because in my video, I have a bunch of people who've commented and they said, you have to see it live and just participate with the other fans because it's an experience that you really will never forget. And I'm like, I can't wait for that to happen. But COVID. But yeah,
wonderful world of COVID. Well, you just set up a perfect Shaun of the Dead thing. I know you have a coffee and we're on video right now, so do the Shaun of the Dead thing and wait till this thing blows over. That's great.
There you go.
Make that a gift. Anyway, so yeah, watching this, I remember hearing stories about this was like this cult classic film where they you dress up and go to the theaters, and I actually know somebody. I'm not 100% sure I'm allowed to say his name, so I won't. But I know that he used to do this a lot in Portland, and go to this showing and dress up and stuff. So it's like it's crazy like that a film like this gets people to dress up. Of course, I'm saying that as a Star Wars fan where people do that a lot and people for Star Trek and a lot of comic books.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing, but it's just a little, I guess it might be
more risque,
a little more risque to some, but also who cares? They're having a fun time. They're not hurting anybody. Let them enjoy it. I kind of actually want to see this in theater now too, and be a part of that, because sometimes that maybe enhances the experience of the film itself. It's not just whatever, like a 90-minute film. It's actually an experience that maybe enhances it, and maybe you enjoy it a little bit more, and makes it hold closer to your heart too.
Yeah, what I love about the film, to kind of go back to your first question, after repeated viewings, I love the message of the film, because the film starts off that Brad and Janet are going to this wedding, and the bride of that wedding throws a bouquet, and Janet catches it. And the bride who just got married looks at Brad. He goes, "Oh, looks like you're the lucky guy to get married, old buddy." And then Brad kind of has that look like, is this what he really wants to do? I love that, because think about it, like all of us growing up, we're told that, hey, you grow up, you go to college, you find a guy or gal, you get married, and that's it. That's kind of like the template that we all have as far as what you're supposed to do in life, right? And then this film kind of like questions that, or like brings that to the table. Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do, but is that what you really want to do? Because, Brad's kind of confused. So then they go on this journey. Yeah. The norm that, they even have the American Gothic, parody in the back, where Riff Raff and Magenta are in the back dressed like that painting. And even Tim Curry's the preacher. I don't know if you noticed that in the back.
Oh, yeah, I noticed right away. I was like, wait a second. And it's like they have the same people. Like,
yeah,
that's the painting. And I knew just a little subtle little hints they did. It's pretty funny.
And I love that, because this is what you're supposed to do, but then is it really what you want to do? Then they go and they meet these group. And I love how uncomfortable Janet and Brad are when they meet the time warp people. They're just uncomfortable because it's not really their element or their lifestyle. It's this totally outrageous lifestyle they've never been, just showcased to or shown in front of them. So I love that. And the message of the film I love is that, hey, you're supposed to do this, but deep down, do what you love. If you're in this film, I've had a lot of people in my video make comments that they were gay or in the closet, and they were scared because they lived in the Midwest, and their entire town would have hated that, and they love the message of the film and the bravery and the charismatic, persona of Tim Curry. Like this one guy in one of my comments said that, he was a transvestite, and he was just ashamed of himself. But then he went and saw this film, and that's the way Tim Curry walks out with a cape and just throws it like, "Hey, look at me." And he's just like, "I'm sexy," all this shit. He said that was so inspiring to him, and it helped him, come out and do what he wanted to do, and be who he is. And if anything, I'm getting goosebumps right now. And if anything, that's what I love about the film. If art, media, music, a painting, whatever, you can look at it, watch it, and it inspires you to be happy and be who you are. I think that's a testament to it. So I think that's another piece of this film that I love about it, and I wasn't aware about it. Because you and I don't know what this is. I'm going to check it out. But after you're exposed to it, like, holy shit, this film is powerful. It has a great message that I think anybody, gay, straight, whomever, can follow.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. As somebody who's watching it for the first time, I definitely picked up on that. I was like, man, that main song that everybody knows because it's his introduction is the Sweet Transvestite song, and he's loud and he's proud. Yeah. He's loud and proud, and he doesn't care what other people think. He just, he's himself, and that's the beautiful thing about this. Sometimes we're so concerned about what other people think that, we're kind of just like, we don't want to be judged, but. Mm-hmm. Does it really matter? Are you happy with who you are? Then that's what you should show to the world, is your happiness inside. Yeah. And I, especially watching this for the first time in 2020, I think that this is kind of like a perfect film. It's a film that it's not just set in the 70s. It's a film that actually speaks kind of throughout the generations too. And like you said, it's a very inspiring film to many people out there in the world. And I'm happy that I was able to finally watch this film.
Right. Yeah, I agree, dude. It's one of those films, like you said. It's a timeless piece. They can remake it and all that, but I don't think anybody can kind of like step in the shoes of Tim Curry. He's an amazing talent. And I like how earlier you mentioned that he's been Pennywise. He was in Home Alone 2, and he was in Legend. He was a devil in Legend, and I love that film.
That's right. Totally
I didn't know that was him. I'm like, that's Tim Curry. I'm like, oh crap! He looks great. He's a great character actor. I loved him in Clue. Clue's one of my favorite 80s comedies.
We just watched, my wife hadn't watched that before, and we actually just watched that a couple weeks ago as well. So for her first time, and it's crazy. I watched in preparing for this, I watched the top 10 on Watch Mojo of Tim Curry performances. Obviously, this one was number one.
Right.
Pennywise was number 2. But like I said, like I totally didn't know that he was in Ferngully. He was the Smoke.
I've never seen Ferngully. It's an animated cartoon or something.
It's an animated cartoon, but it's about like the rainforest, everything. And I didn't actually like that movie as a kid, so I have to go back and rewatch it because I think it gave me nightmares or something. I don't know why. I felt really young. But anyway, and he also played in like Criminal Minds, which I've seen as well. He was like this killer on that show for a couple of episodes as well. And I was just like, wow, he has a full range of talent that this guy has, and it's fortunate what has happened to him since, but he's not letting that like discourage him. Like he's still out there speaking and doing his thing. So, or he's still doing his thing for many years. So,
yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, so you only saw this for the first time last year, and you've seen multiple times. Is this a movie that you will show your kids in the future?
That's a really good question because about Halloween, this is in November right now as we're filming this, but last Halloween. Me and my girlfriend were watching it because I bought the Blu-ray just like you got, and we were watching it. And I go, you know what? My kids are old enough because my son, he loves this film called How to Be a Wallflower. What's the name of that movie?
Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Yes, Perks of Being a Wallflower. He saw that film and he loved it because this is a coming of age film. This kid, he doesn't know where he belongs, and he meets his group. And the guy who plays Flash, I forget his name.
Ezra Miller.
You're so brilliant, man. I love you so much. Not only are you handsome, but you're brilliant. Thank you, sir. But Ezra Miller, I remember watching it with my son, and Ezra Miller plays Dr. Frank-N-Furter in a school play.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, that's Dr. Frank-N-Furter. And my son loved the movie so much, the Perks of Being a Wallflower, he bought the poster. It's a scene where they're all in the truck.
Oh, yeah.
When they play the David Bowie We Can Be Heroes. And I love that song. I get goosebumps, man. Anyway, he loved the film, and I remember telling my girlfriend, like, should I let my kids watch this? It's real sexual. And I was going to do it, and then I kind of pulled back a little bit because it's a lot for kids to be exposed. But hell, nowadays kids with the internet, they probably know more than I ever did, or know more than I know now. I don't know what the hell, man. God, man, if I had the internet when I was young, oh God, I'd be a sick bastard. We're off topic. Never mind.
This movie's great.
Watch the movie. We live.
Yeah, he unbuttoned his button for podcast listeners.
But I think I will. I mean, it's kind of like a little uncomfortable, but they're teenagers, and I think overall, despite some of the visuals, the message is important. It's really what I would want them to walk away with is like, hey, you can tell you what to do with life, but as long as you're happy, that's the most important thing. And yeah, I think I will. I mean, but again, they're teenagers. I wouldn't show it to anybody who's younger. My girlfriend, she just told me that her dad's friend showed this film to them when they were 9 and 10 years old. And I'm like, was that a little too young? She goes, yeah, he sat there and watched it with us, and we were all weird.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, that's got to be weird to watch this with an adult, especially that young. But she said she saw it and she understood what it was because he explained everything that was happening. But yeah, I think I will watch it with my kids soon. Probably this weekend.
There we go. Way to go. You heard it here first. We've encouraged him.
Yeah, well, I'll follow up with. I'll record a live reaction, and I'll have it on a video or something like that.
Just see your daughters or your kids. Like it's like okay.
Can you imagine how embarrassed?
Yeah, especially on camera.
Yeah, especially. And I think that's one of the joys of being a parent is making kids feel embarrassed. Like every time I drop off my daughter at school, I'm playing like Thriller, like super loud. As soon as she leaves, I'm blasting music, just random music. Anyway, we're off topic. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, hey, that's the beautiful thing of podcasting. So, what I really loved about this movie, we're going to some really heavy positives, and we spoke about this so much, is the Tim Curry's intro. This thing was so fantastic. I've actually downloaded some of that song on iTunes and some of the other songs as well. And I've listened to that song and just like I love the little subtleness to it, and like the lyrics are really good and really just like fantastic. But also, if you watch it on video, you can see like they break the fourth wall quite a bit in this movie.
They do, yeah. I noticed
and
that.
It's crazy. Like especially during that song, he throws the water right at the camera, and he looks right at the camera, and is like, "Well, how about that?" And I was like, I can't picture anybody but Tim Curry playing this character.
I can't.
The only little thing, I don't know if it's like a nitpick maybe, but some of the audio when Brad was starting to talk over there, kind of, it's definitely not the same audio, but it feels a little off of that when he starts to speak, because the compared to the music. But it's like that's just a small little gripe, and that doesn't hold back the movie whatsoever. But I've noticed that as watching it, but that's also maybe my criticalness of our as we watch movies sometimes comes out. But that song is fantastic. I love the I see you shiver with anticipation. And if you watch his facial his what's the word? His
expression.
His facial expressions. Wow, I don't know why it was hard. His expressions are just legendary, like fantastic with the way he's able to speak without saying a thing, but just his facial expressions. That's fantastic.
And I understand that he actually played that same character on a play. This was a play for like many years before it became a film. Wow. He was that character for a number of years, so he perfected it. So after years of just being that character on screen, he just immortalized everything on there. And it's just one of those films. It's an amazing thing. And one thing I do love about the film, again, after repeat viewings, is the set design in the third act, because they're going to go back to their planet, so he's got to give this Broadway play of him saying goodbye, and then just this whole thing, "Don't dream it, be it," which I love the lyrics of the song, but that whole I think it's a good contrast of visualizations, because the camera starts in back of the theater and is slowly going up to the stage, but the back of the stage is the old Hollywood. It's like a tower, like the old Hollywood style versus the new contrast. You have black and white imagery of a classic Hollywood versus the color contrast of the 70s. So I like the two cultures and time periods clashing in the contrast of that visual set, and to encourage us being like the middle, like, hey, I'm the future. And he goes on this song. I love it. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it, because I love, again, not only the story, the characters, but the visuals is what sold me when I saw it the first time. I go, I love the third act. I really do. And that whole scene, I didn't know this, but they go in the water and they're all having like a kissing orgy or something like that.
Yeah.
Susan Sarandon actually got pneumonia while she was in there. It was so cold on the set and the water was freezing. She was in there. She got pneumonia, and between takes, she was literally shaking, and her fever was just radiating. She was just hot, and everyone was telling her that she was like 20, 21, I think, when she filmed this. Everyone's saying, you need to go to the doctor, but she was a trooper. And she's, no, I gotta film. So when they hit action, she just went into character. But her fever was so high, they were saying that she technically almost died of pneumonia because she was that sick. Wow. So again, a testament to Susan Sarandon for being a badass and just fighting through it and performing during that last third act.
It's crazy. It's I didn't really quite realize it was Susan Sarandon when I was first watching the YouTube clip for his intro, but then you get there, it's clearly her. It's crazy. I watched this year, actually, we watched a film for the podcast from 1970, one of her very first movie called Joe. It's a movie that is a better conversation to have than actual film itself, but because there's really good talking points, it's a good contrast to 2020 with like political stuff, and racial tensions and stuff. But it's crazy. She's in there in that film, and seeing her kind of go from that movie, which she had a minor role, into this movie where she's definitely more flamboyant and has a little more some pretty interesting character interactions throughout the movie. And it's kind of see her progression. And now she's like this kind of not like A-list star, but she's a big name right now. Like, she's a legendary actor. She's done so many things that she's just, you put her name and there's like, oh, Susan Sarandon, isn't it? I might check this one out. Who knows? But it's crazy to see her progression over the years in this film. Yeah, I loved her in Thelma and Louise. She was great in that film. I don't know if you've seen that, where her and Gina Davis are in it. Oh, I have. Dude, that's a great film. I think it was nominated for Best Picture when it came out. I was in high school when it came out, but that's a good, empowerment film for women. Yeah, that's another one I need to watch. Yeah, before empowerment was a thing on Twitter and all that. But it's a great movie. It's a great damn movie, and Brad Pitt's in it. One of his first on-screen roles. Well, there we go, Brad Pitt. Can't go wrong with Brad Pitt. Yeah. So this movie is known for its music. However, fun fact is, I didn't know this was a musical. You didn't? I didn't know it was a musical going in. That was kind of. I'm like, oh, cool, it's a musical, and then I had a smile on my face throughout this. All the songs are great, but what was your favorite songs from the movie? I'd say Time Warp, but that's a dead giveaway. I mean, that's kind of everybody's favorite song, and
or even I'm sweet transvestite. I think it's that one. And that's even a kind of a lazy answer, but I can't help it. It's the way it's saying, and just Tim Curry's performance. It's a great one. But if I have to go lyrically, I'll do that. I think it's "Don't Dream It, Be It." It's got a great message, and it's more or less just saying, as I've said already, that hey, if you want to be something, don't just think about it, go do it. I love the message of that song, and after I saw the film, I downloaded the soundtrack on my phone and I play it randomly in the car and I sing along with it. But you're right. It's like when I guess people, like, for example, when people ask me, do you like musicals? I tend to say no. Like, no, not really. It's not my cup of tea. But when I think about it, this film, Little Shop of Horrors, The Blues Brothers, those are musicals. I mean, The Blues Brothers is a musical, whether we want to say it or not. But I love those. I love them. I love those films. I guess they're musicals, and I'm loving it and not knowing they're musicals. So, yeah.
I enjoy because I grew up. My mom used to love Rodgers and Hammerstein's movies, so like we grew up watching The Sound of Music quite a bit. That's like one of my. It's like ingrained in my head that's a great movie. Yeah. I love that movie a lot. But The King and I was another with Yul Brynner, and then we watched State Fair. It's another one we watched, not as much, and then Oklahoma. And it was another. There's like the four that we kind of watched, but we watched mostly The Sound of Music. And I forgot another one. This is not a Roger Hammerstein, but My Fair Lady.
Okay,
that's another one. So we grew up on these musicals, but this was never one that we ever had or she ever mentioned. So I'm not. Who knows? Maybe it was just something like, oh, she saw once type of thing. Didn't think of anything of it, but it'd be interesting to have that conversation with my mom about like, has she seen one? What's up? Like. What's her thoughts on this one? But as a person who likes musicals for the most part, at least the older ones, because maybe a little nostalgic, this one played true just to those films as well. I didn't mind the music. I actually really liked the songs, the beats, the vocal chorus were all fantastic for me. And I think my favorite song, other than the three that we've already mentioned, I like "Damn It, Janet." I think that was a kind of a fun way to introduce the movie, especially when. The little subtleness too, like the place, Denton, the place for happiness, is the billboard behind them. They're sitting in front of a church in a cemetery portion, asking to get married. So it's like life and death kind of thing right there. Yeah,
I love those visuals too. It's like and more or less it's on the nose, but it's like you only live once. They're kind of hammering down that message that happiness, death. Hey, you only live once. Be who you are. We only get one ticket to this ride of life.
Yeah, exactly. And so was there anything that you, as watching it multiple times, is there anything that's kind of like, I didn't really care for this piece? Was there anything like little nitpicks, gripes, or anything like that for you?
Well, it's tough because, like I said, I wouldn't say nitpicks because, you and I have the same eye when we watch films. We look at the screenplay, we look at everything else, and we're very critical. But I have to admit, my critic brain or critic hat kind of I got the hat and just threw it. Like, I'm having fun. It's one of those films where you understand the legacy of it. You understand the message and what it means to a lot of people. And I kind of felt like, what the hell took me so long to finally watch this film? I kind of feel that way. I should have watched this years ago. But now that I'm part of it, quote unquote, of that circle of appreciating and understanding what it is, there's nitpicks, of course. Like, the story doesn't make any sense. I mean, they're aliens and they blast off, and the doctor who's in the wheelchair, I forget his name, but Dr. Vaughn. God darn it, Dr. Vaughn. I got this. Dr. Vaughn Scott. He's paralyzed in a wheelchair, but then he pulls up his pant leg and he's got stockings on and he's kicking and dancing in the chair. I'm like, well, he can get up. What's he doing?
Maybe it's just that one leg he can walk.
Yeah, it's like, it doesn't make any sense. Whatever. But I love it. I admire people who can create, like I said, create a story and music that really transcends time and genres and everything else like that. So I don't really have nitpicks. I don't. I do recall, like, my first time watching it, how I got pissed off because I got mad because the scene where Brad and Janet are engaged and such, and they're doing their thing, and then they get separated after he shows Rocky. He shows Rocky. He goes and they have sex in that elaborate little bed and everything. I thought that was cool. But then they go to their separate rooms, and Dr. Frank-N-Furter goes into Janet's room first, and he's like, "Oh, get off me, whatever." And And then after a while of her, Tim Curry just kind of seducing her, she says, "You promise you won't tell Brad?" I'm like, "That slut!" I got upset. I go, "What are you doing cheating on him like that for?" So I got upset. But then the next scene, Dr. Frank-N-Furter seduces Brad. And he ends up sleeping with Brad. And I think the funniest shot in the entire film for me is that Janet's like, "Brad, where are you?" She goes to the television and she turns on the television and she sees Brad just smoking a cigarette. Oh, dude, that cracked me up. That cracked me up, man. But I got upset seeing that for the first time, but it's hilarious.
I was like, what the heck? This is borderline rape. What's going on here?
I know. It is. It technically is nowadays. You have to be very careful and all that. So
yeah. And it's seen as like, well, this definitely would have been in the movie if it was made today. I don't think. Yeah. Anyway, or something. Gay. Yeah, a little too much, especially trying to be like politically correct and stuff like that. I don't think it's. Yeah. I think it was just been really controversial and would have hurt the film in the long run. But I think there's an understanding to it now, which is obviously we're looking at it as a classic piece of cinema, a movie that has a big following there as well. But also in the same sense is that they're kind of both eventually they agree to it, and they kind of are experiencing this new thing at the same time. So, and plus that whole song that Janet sings is that very risque to Rocky. I was like, wow,
Creature of the Night,
Creature of the Night,
She's very. And then I remember seeing that, like, she's sleeping with everybody else because she's laying in the bed and. So touch me. I want to feel dirty. Sorry, everybody. I know I can't sing. Anyway, but
at least don't sing that song.
She's having this dissolve of everybody she's met. Magenta, Frank-N-Furter, Brad, Rocky, and I'm like, is she sleeping with everybody? I remember I was confused, and the person I saw it with, she's like, I don't know. What do you think? It's all in based on your interpretation. But I thought she was sleeping with everybody. But when I posted that on my video, people were saying, no, she's fantasizing. I'm like, well, that makes sense. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So let's look at the some of the director of this movie. His name is Jim Sharman. Okay. He only has directed 6 movies, right?
Oh, okay.
Only 6 movies, and I've only seen one of them. It's Rocky Horror Picture Show, of course. He also has done this movie in 1981 called Shock Treatment.
Shock Treatment. I haven't heard of that one.
The Night the Prowler from 1978. He also directed Shirley Thompson versus the Aliens from 1972. Summer of Secrets from 1976. And his last one is Andy X from 2012. This is a 43-minute film. Andy X, I don't know so very limited directing experience, but he's directed one of these big cult classics that's been talked about for years. So kind of his lasting legacy. Oh, he was also a writer for the Rocky Horror Picture Show Let's Do Time Warp Again live show.
Nice.
From 2016, directed by Kenny Ortega, who also directed Hocus Pocus. That's the
okay. That's a classic. I know a lot of my friends love that film.
And he has also done like a bunch of Disney movies too. Kenny Ortega did, but so kind of it's kind of crazy. Like this big, you would think that this would be like a launching pad for a legendary career, possibly. But it shows that maybe this movie. I don't know how well received this was back then, but if people are labeling it a cult classic, usually that means it wasn't really received or highly praised back then. Yeah. So maybe it didn't. It coulda, woulda, shoulda type of thing. Maybe it should have pushed him a little bit more. If it maybe was made today, it would have pushed his career a little further. But kind of interesting to see that it didn't take off as much for him. But
and I can understand that. I remember hearing it flopped because it's just so out there. It's just totally different from the norm. And I think I read that it started getting success when they started having midnight screenings of the film. And that's where that whole culture, that whole everyone responding and having these engagements with the film happened. And that's when everybody kind of felt safe too, because they would go in costume. They feel they can be themselves. I've read stories where people lived in the middle of nowhere, but would drive 200 miles to their local air city and watch this and just be themselves for 2 hours in this film. So, I mean, I can see that. I can see a film like that just not registering with the mainstream audiences. I mean, looking nowadays, if it's not a Marvel film, it's not going to be a hit. Not to bring in the MCU or anything like that, but audiences right now for the past 10 years have been accustomed to billion-dollar franchise films, like Transformers and MCU. So if a film comes out like this, people aren't going to receive that. Like, what is this? This is not what I'm used to. So it'll definitely it'll find its audience as it goes, as this film did.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. So I did put a poll out on Twitter on Almost Sideways at Almost Sideways on Twitter, which is our podcast YouTube or podcast Twitter. And I said, what's your thoughts on Rocky Horror Picture Show?
Mm-hmm.
I put classic, repeat watch, really good, decent one-time watch, or not my cup of tea. We didn't have a whole lot of votes. It was really late last time when I posted this, but we had a couple people do it. With 67% of the vote, it's a classic, repeat watch.
It is.
And then a tie with 17% of the vote, really good or a decent one-time watch. So nobody voted for not my cup of tea, which is cool. But so definitely it's a classic, repeat watch to a lot of people. And we also had a comment from Steph. Steph, she said, I love this movie. She's another YouTuber, not so nerdy nerd. But she also posted like she loves this film. So definitely has some good power. A lot of people really do love it. And if you don't think it's a really good like multiple rewatch thing, at least you think it has qualities there to enjoy.
Yeah. And like I said, the message itself, I can definitely see a lot of people. I remember myself before years ago when people would bring it up. I'm like, that's not my cup of tea, because I just thought it was just people transvestite, blah blah blah, whatever. Like, well, it's not for me, but I hear it's good, whatever. And I know time warp. That was just me being dumb and naive. And then finally, when like I said, somebody sat me down with a drink, here, have a drink and just watch this and
enjoy yourself.
Do it. I'm like, I felt like putting on lipstick at the end of the movie and just like dancing and all that stuff. So it just made me happy. You leave euphoric in a way. You leave like you've been on a journey, as a guy says, allow me, if I may, to take you on a journey. That whole thing. You feel like you went on a fun ride, like a fairy tale in a sense. And it's a great film.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great film too. And I think it's a perfect place to kind of just close it conversation right there, because I think there's not much really else to say. We're going to be repeating ourselves. I just think it's one of those movies that you definitely got to watch and experience, and just have yourself like a nice beverage, just sit back and enjoy the ride the film takes you on. Even if you don't think this is going to be your cup of tea, I think that's where I was too, why I didn't watch it, because I'm I don't know, Tim, then I put the movie in and I absolutely just had a blast with it. Like it's fun. And even if musicals aren't your thing, I don't really consider this necessarily a musical. I think this is like a science fiction ride right here. So it's like a space opera. A space opera. Yeah. It's kind of like, that's what George Lucas always said, that Star Wars was a space opera. So that when you think opera, you think of songs, but Star Wars doesn't have songs, and Rocky Horror Picture has songs, but I don't think it songs are what defines this movie. I think it defines the film. The film defines itself, and it makes it's very cool science fiction. It's a different take on that genre as well. So it's a must watch. So again, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe here for more videos and interviews, stuff here. We have interviews and movie conversations. Also, clips from the audio versions of podcasts will be popped on here as well. So be on the lookout for that. If you guys want to listen to audio versions, which will have little extra content bookend of our conversations. Make sure you check out the podcast as well. You can find that on iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, and Stitcher at Almost Sideways Movie Podcast. And again, Rudy, thank you so much for being on. And Rudy, plug your channel again, and his channel will be in the show notes as well.
Yes, absolutely. And again, before I do that, everyone be sure to smash the like button. I think the like button will be right there.
Smash that.
Smash the like button, hit that one so the algorithm picks up on this guy. So you can find me on Rudy's Movie Reviews on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram under the same title. You'll find me there. But really, if you want to follow me, my channel, I dedicate a lot of time to one video a month, but it's really retro reviews. I try to do first run films, and I just really couldn't keep up with everybody. But now I do one video a month, one great video a month. And check it out. Tell me what you think. If you love 80s films, classic films, and just a guy rambling and smiling like an idiot and just saying, I bet you didn't know that, give me a shot. And if you like what you like, just hit the subscribe button. I appreciate it. But again, Adam, you're one of my friends of YouTube. We've known each other years, and it's always a pleasure talking to you, sir. And I'm glad we were able to sit here and talk about one of the best, films of one of the best films, one of the best cult classics out there, and one that resonates with a lot of people. And I'm a fan of it. And thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. This won't be the last time we'll work together, because I really love talking movies with you. So we're going to be doing this every couple months, I think. I love it. So good stuff. So, all right, guys, we'll see you later.